and welcome to Cannabis Marketing Live. I'm your host, Kendra Losi, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I don't have a guest here with me. It's just me talking. Lucky you, I know, because there's a ton of information that you're going to want to hear as a cannabis business, whether you have cannabis or hemp CBD, you are definitely going to want to hear what I'm saying today. So the topic for today are the 7 steps that your business needs to take when marketing during a crisis. I don't know, whether it's a pandemic, whether it is a civil uprising that's long overdue, whatever the reason, there are 7 steps that your business needs to be doing in order to keep moving forward, right? There's a lot that goes into it. So let me know if you're here and watching. Feel free to jump in and ask any questions. This is a broader topic than just cannabis industry and CBD. It is actually something that I've been talking a lot to clients about lately, and I've been surprised at how many people are unprepared to respond as their business and who don't really know what it takes in order to manage your marketing and communication during this time. And I'm not just talking social media, I'm talking all of your marketing. So we're going to go through the 7 steps. You're not going to want to miss it. And then I'm going to wrap it up with a little bit more about the current situation. And I mean current meaning the Black Lives Matter and everything else, and some of the things that us as particularly white business owners, but business owners in general, need to be doing and paying attention to. So a little bit about me. I'm not sure if you're jumping in for the first time or not, but I actually teach crisis communication as part of a social media course that I teach at a local university. So I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been talking about it and studying it for a really long time. I don't necessarily think that I am the end-all be-all expert, but at the end of the day, I've been teaching it, I've been reviewing it, and like I said, I've been surprised at how few people are prepared for what's been going on. So, are you ready? Let's start with step number 1. So, of the 7 steps to manage your marketing, what you need to do is the first is you want to pause everything. The second thing started happening, whether it's a global pandemic, again, school shooting, whatever the instance, if it's in the national news, you want to be paying attention to it and you want to pause your marketing. And that is because you never know how what you have could be misrepresented and perceived in this new light. So number 1, pause your marketing. Number 2, listen to what is being said. So if people are complaining about something, listen to what's being said. If there's unrest or something specific is happening, listen to what's being said. I'm going to put most of what I say in frame of the last few weeks, but I'm also going to include the pandemic in this too, because there was an example I was working with a particular client and we posted an awesome testimonial, and the person who did the testimonial sent over their picture, and they had been traveling Italy in the fall, and we thought, that's awesome. Let's post this and share this picture. She's happy. She's great. She's had great things to say about her experience. And social media buried us because it was posted in March with her in Italy. And the comments were telling us how tone deaf we are and all of these different things about us portraying Italy at a time when Italy was suffering. Like I said, I study this, so that one actually caught me off guard because it never occurred to me that that would be a problem. So you never know what people are going to pay attention to and what they're going to pick up on. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention. And so you need to, once again, pause your campaigns, review and listen. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to determine your stance. Do you need to say something? Do you need to acknowledge that Kobe Bryant passed away? Do you need to acknowledge this? Is your business or your company tied into the things that are being said? There's actually a lot of comments going in. I'm just looking at what people are saying, and There's in the comments right now, and Deb and Mary are here. Welcome, you guys. Deb's saying that people often jump into speaking without listening, and that is so important. And we're seeing that now with Black Lives Matter and everything for all of our Black friends and people who are experiencing a lot right now. Mary's saying that you really don't know how people are going to react, and that's absolutely true. You don't know how people are going to react, and so as a business owner, as a marketer, you need to be paying attention. And so, like I said, number 3, you need to determine if it makes sense to add your voice. And I'm going to talk about this more in the end because I'm getting a little frustrated. If I'm getting frustrated with the companies that are jumping on ship right now, I know a lot of other people are too. And so, does it make sense? It's not always going to make sense. If my advice for companies in this instance is to, once again, you've listened, but look at your mission and your vision and your values for your company. Are your values aligned with the situation that's going on? Is it something that you need to add your voice to? Does it make sense? Or do you feel so strongly about it that you can't stay quiet? If your business is saying Black Lives Matter and posting and going dark on Tuesday and posting about things, then that's great. But is it part of your values? And how are you incorporating that and living it, not just in the words? And once again, that's something I feel very strongly about, and I'll touch on it towards the end. But it's one of those things where you have to be paying attention and you have to align with your mission and vision. And just because people are willing to spend more money at companies that align with their values, that doesn't mean that you need to be changing your values. Of course, you also want to review them and make sure that they make sense for everyone and for the current day situations that are happening. And I see more people are jumping in. Welcome, Adelia and Heidi and Deb and Mary. It's great to see you guys. Adelia was saying that some people have attacked her for not speaking up, but it's something that you need to align with, and you need to, I think right now a lot of us are listening, because you don't want to jump too soon, and not for support, but jump into action too soon because they're still trying to figure out what's needed and how we can continue. I think current situation, I'm blending this together a little more than I planned on, but current situation, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So it's not a one and done. I posted Black Lives Matter. I posted this. I posted about the pandemic. The pandemic's still going on. Racism has been going on for a really, really long time. Doing one thing is not going to solve it. But collectively doing things, if it makes sense for your business, will. So number 3 is determine your stance and whether or not to add your voice. Right? So once again, just because people are spending more money, don't just do it because you feel like you need to. Looking at you, NFL. But do it because it means something, and do it because you're going to act on it, and do it because it's part of your values, and you're going to, if you haven't been already, you're going to be ingraining it into the fabric of your company. Number 4. So review your marketing campaigns. I mentioned this earlier with the image of the client that was for the woman that was in Italy, but review your marketing campaigns. There is nothing worse than seeing campaigns that are just out of touch. So for example, I lived in Denver during Columbine, and after Columbine, it was the first really big school shooting, and the whole city was just shut down. It was constant mourning all the time, and for several months. And about a couple weeks after the Columbine shooting, the NRA was doing a event in Denver, and so they had billboards up about freedom for guns all over the place. Now, I'm not going to get into guns, and I'm not going to get into the NRA, but poor timing, bad execution. They really could have been more thoughtful in terms of what they did. And there's a ton of examples around when you start to look at advertising and marketing about, truly being tone deaf in a way that just makes no sense. If you're talking about something, spreading the word or catching and being viral, March is not the time to post those. Now is probably not the time to post those. Rethink what you're saying, rethink how you're saying it, and make sure that it fits in with the current situation and our current environment. Does that mean you have to be paying attention? Absolutely. You should be anyway. So you're going to review your marketing campaigns and you're going to start taking a look at everything. No matter what you do, you want to keep your marketing paused for the appropriate amount of time. There are no guidelines around this. There's zero, right? If you're going to pause for a pandemic, rethink, check everything, and then decide to go live again, it's going to be a lot easier to do that quickly than, say, with everything that's been going on after George Floyd was murdered. If you're not going to, or if you're going to support whatever your decision is, you need to be paused for a little bit. You need to be paused to regroup. You need to be paused to let others speak. You need to be paused, if you're not going to say anything, to avoid the backlash of your lack of statement. If you go back and you post too soon without acknowledging the events, people are going to respond to you. And you can't turn those comments off, even though you might want to. And I have been asked if I could, so you can't turn comments off on social media, in case you're wondering. Don't try. So pause your marketing for an appropriate amount of time. And once again, I'm kind of glad there's no guide, because I wouldn't want to say, okay, school shooting equals 2 days. Mass civil unrest equals 5 days. It doesn't work that way. You have to read the room and you have to be listening and paying attention. So the next one is, once you've paused, once you've reviewed your campaign, once you've listened and you've done all of the steps I've talked about so far, next you want to restart your campaigns. So you've made your edits, you've looked at it, deemed it appropriate, restart. Restart slowly, and do not, for the love of God, do not restart trying to sell something right off the bat. Start small, test it, see how it goes. This is more important if you're a larger company. So if you're, the Nikes of the world or what have you, and you choose not to say something or you choose not to acknowledge, then you want to be silent a little bit longer, because you need to get your voice lost with everything else going on. So, and hope that maybe no one will notice. Hope's not a great strategy for marketing, so you can take that with what you prefer. So the last step is to monitor everything carefully. Monitor social media, set up your social listening and listening across the internet to see what people are saying, to see if people are mentioning your brand, to see if people are calling you out for good or for bad. So there's a lot of companies that posted Black Lives Matter, and the response on Twitter has been, that's great, let's see your executive team. Let's see your representation. If you're truly saying that Black Lives Matter, how are you walking the walk? And what steps are you doing to make sure that those aren't just empty words? And that's where you want to really be listening and monitoring comments, monitoring emails, monitoring any place for feedback from your consumers. Now, the last few things are really just making sure that everything's covered. I said there's 7 steps, and those were the 7. I went through them pretty quickly, but you really, the gist of it is pause, listen, review, edit, post, and monitor. And this is not just your social media. This is your emails. These are your ads. These are your Google Click ads. These are your ads on traffic networks. You want to pause everything because what's happening doesn't just touch one part of our lives. What's happening touches all parts of our lives, and you need to be cognizant of that. There's been a lot of articles about the pandemic advertising and the different types of ads that we've been seeing. Companies were quick most of them didn't pause their advertising, but many were quick to put out new ads and respond to, you see Zoom ads, people on Zoom or people on video kind of thing. And they paused it and they ran those ads. And, after a while, you just start to get sick of seeing people in computers and video like you are watching me right now. And so it's been interesting to see how advertising's been evolving over the past few months, but particularly now. And I want to take a couple minutes to talk about Black Lives Matter and what's been happening. And one of the things that's really been bothering me that I've been trying to pay attention to are the empty promises and the empty comments. So there was an article by the BBC that was talking about brand activism and how a lot of businesses are jumping on the bandwagon, right? Like I said, they're posting Black Lives Matter, they're posting this or that, they're blacking out on Tuesday a couple weeks ago, but they're not doing anything else. And so as consumers, we need to be aware of what that looks like. And in my last episode, I talked with Miss Kindness, and we were both talking about looking at their ads, looking at their social media, looking at their employee list. What percentage of diversity do they have? If it's a one-person company like mine, obviously I'm not diverse, but what can I do? And so that's where I started to look at, first of all, I've been looking at what companies are talking, what companies are doing, what companies appear to be listening, and who is talking about whether or not they're doing mentorships or internships or putting together town hall. And are they doing it to check the box? Or are they doing it because they mean it and they really want to help? And that's something that we all have to be paying attention to. A lot of companies are following the dollar because they know that more than 65%, I think the last number I saw was 73% of consumers in the US approve of Black Lives Matter and believe that it's true. So companies are all saying that. We've all seen the NFL, who's on my list right now, and they're following the dollar. They are 100% following where the consumer demand is when they should actually be helping lead it and creating that demand. But there are a lot of things that we can do to listen, respond. There's a lot of resources that we can be reading. And there's a lot of places we can donate and a lot of actions we can be taking. But sometimes we just need to stop and pause and listen to what's being said. But that is the gist of crisis communications for marketing. That's the gist of my experience in terms of the recommendations. I don't think I mentioned it earlier. After 9/11, I was very young, but my job was to research how to market during a disaster. And so the 4 days after 9/11, I actually spent researching disasters, which will play with one's psyche a little bit. But in doing that, I learned a lot in terms of how to approach marketing during that time and the level of sensitivity you need to have. And so all that research ended up going into a newsletter that went to other marketers for our clients, Tiffany's and Macy's and all those types of companies who are our clients. But the gist of it is that you really need to stop and listen. And you need to stop your marketing and listen. And then recalibrate and restart. You guys have been talking a lot, and I really appreciate your comments. So I'm going to roll over here. Lecture's over, guys. You can tell I'm used to teaching. I'm like, okay, now class. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm going to say. I've got slide decks and everything. But it's just such an important topic. I really wanted to come on and talk about it. So I appreciate you guys all sitting through this. Mary's saying you really don't know how people react. Deb, I'm glad you found it helpful. And the same to Heather as well. I've been surprised at how many companies don't know how to handle this. And it's so important. It's the first thing you guys should have. We should all have crisis communication plans ready to go. If this happens, then this is what we do. No questions asked. Here's how it works. Because if you don't, you're not going to be able to, you're going to be just stuck scrambling. and asking what to do. And you guys, I'm working with some pretty big clients right now, and some of them have no idea what they should be doing. It has been shocking to me and a little disheartening. And Heidi's here, who is a PR guru. And it's just, a cannabis company that does telemedicine. That is awesome. And I'm sure Heidi can jump in here a lot more when it comes to crisis communications. Oh, Heidi makes a really good point, and this is something Miss Kindness said in the last episode as well, is that we actually, as business owners and as marketers, not just stop and listen, but also ask our friends who are people of color and ask them for their advice and ask them what they think we could do. I'm hearing a lot now of people moving too fast and companies moving too fast. And once again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. We don't have to do everything today. And we don't have to say all the words today, because tomorrow everything's still going to be here. But we need to be active and finding that balance between not helping and not letting the current situation and the current, I don't want to say unrest, but the current, anti-racism stance lose momentum. Because we don't want to lose momentum and we don't want to stop being allies. However, we also need to really be aware of what people need, what people of color need right now, and what we can do versus doing what we think we should be doing. So ask employees, ask business partners, ask clients, ask friends, ask, listen. That is basically all my comments today. Thank you guys for showing up. I really appreciate it. Thanks for sitting through my crisis marketing lecture. I tried to make it not too lectury. But yeah, give it some thought, what you can do. I'd love to see your comments and your ideas or your questions in the comments. Let me know, and I look forward to seeing you all again. Oh, soul live shows are the best. It's just me, you guys. It's just me. All right, I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye.